Welcome to part 2 of Syllables, or How to Speak Spanish Without an Accent, of Final Miles Español para Mí program. My name is Angelica. Thank you for joining us. In this lesson, we will learn the rest of the syllables and integrate the new knowledge with everything that we learned in Spanish letters and sounds and syllables part 1. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to read any Spanish word, even if you have never seen it or heard it before, and pronounce it correctly. Let's get to it. This is a fun lesson. I like it because everything comes together in part 2. Everything that we learned in Spanish letters and sounds, variable consonants, part 1 of syllables. Hopefully you have done those lessons and you have done those homework and practice exercises. And so now in part 2, we bring it all together. And at the end of this lesson, you will be able to read any word in Spanish. Okay, this is where we are in the curriculum module map. We are still in the pronunciation module. We are working our way through it. We are doing what we need to do to establish a perfect Spanish accent. Okay, the prerequisites is what I just said, Spanish letters and sounds, and syllables, or how to speak Spanish without an accent, part 1. This is part 2 of that lesson. Okay, we are going to talk about vowels, strong or weak. Basically, the main theme of this part of the lesson is this is where we learn to separate the syllables. Okay, so let's talk about vowels. Some of them are strong, some of them are weak. Syllable separation, right? This is what we're talking about. So next thing we need to learn is that a, e, and o are inherently strong vowels. I and u, e, and u are unfortunately weak. However, when a weak vowel gets a graphic accent, it becomes strong. And we will find out why it matters in just a moment. Okay, so you remember A, E, and O are always strong. I and U are weak unless they have a graphic accent on them. This is a very important rule. A syllable may have more than one vowel as long as they are adjacent. They cannot be separated by a consonant. Okay, that would be another syllable. So they can have more than one vowel as long as they are adjacent and no more than one is strong. Think of it like this. If the two adjacent vowels are strong, they cannot be together. They collide. Okay, they beat each other up, so they would have to be separated. Okay, you have already seen some words and you're familiar with some words that have two adjacent vowels. Okay, if they are weak, a weak and a strong, they remain in the same syllable. Okay, as in tiene. Okay, the I is weak, the E is strong, so they can be together in the same syllable. Everybody's familiar with this word. Gracias. A weak I, a strong A. Say this word. Reino. Reino. Notice all of them have a weak and a strong vowel adjacent to each other. Okay, this name gets mispronounced by English speakers all the time. That J has to have a very strong H sound. Juan. Juan. Most people just say Juan. Mientes. Traigo. Traigo. Say this word. piojo, piojo. Canción. Au, remember, like how. Jaula, jaula. Now, look at these words, okay? They have adjacent vowels, but because they are both strong, they cannot be in the same syllable. Graphic accent. Aéreo, aéreo. León. You see the two vowels right next to each other. E and O. They are both strong, so they have to be separated. Okay, what happened here? We have a graphic accent on the I, so the I immediately becomes strong, so it cannot be in the same syllable as the E, okay? So this sounds cafeína. Okay, are you getting the idea? Okay, two strong vowels cannot be, even if they are adjacent, they cannot be in the same syllable. They have to be separated. Okay, two vowels can be, if they are adjacent, can be in the same syllable as long as at least one of them is weak. Okay, so as we saw earlier, when a weak vowel gets a graphic accent, it becomes strong. So it may seem to create an exception to the accentuation rules that we learned earlier, right? You may recall, okay, if the word ends in a vowel or N or S, emphasis falls on syllable number 2. So why would we need an accent here if by default this would be the syllable with emphasis? Well, let's look at what would happen if we didn't have an accent here. Okay, if we didn't have an accent there, this sounds, say it again, cafeína. If we didn't have an accent there, it would be a weak vowel and it would not be separated from the E. So this would just be one syllable. And so then the emphasis would be on that syllable number 2, but it would sound completely different because the E being strong dominates. So that syllable is fe. So that would sound cafeína. Listen to the sound, okay? Make sure that this is clear to you. Cafeína. Cafeína. Sounds very different, right? So, for that reason, it's not really an exception. If we didn't have that accent there, it would give it a whole different sound. Okay, let's look at some words with two strong vowels next to each other, having to be separated. Okay, smile. It's not in, it's in. Increíble. Say the words with me. Aúlla. So this U would normally be weak and it would be joined with the strong A, but because it has an accent, it is strong, so it has to be separated. Same thing with increíble. Okay, very similar to cafeína. Here we have proteína. That weak I has a graphic accent, therefore it's strong. It cannot be in the same syllable as the E. Proteína. Same here. Poseído. Ataúd. Rubíes. There are very few infinitives that have an accent in Spanish. freír, and there is a conjugated verb form, freímos. Oír, conjugated verb form, oímos. Verbs ending in UAR, in their conjugated verb forms, they get accents. Actuar, actúa. Continuar, continuo. Okay, so when they get the accent, that weak vowel becomes strong and gets separated from the next vowel. Let's practice some of those words. Give it a shot. Sitúa. Situación. Cacatúa. Gracias. García. Here, if you compare these two words, you see an I next to an A. Here it doesn't have an accent, so it's weak. They don't have to be separated. Here it has an accent, so it's strong, so it has to be separated from the A, which is strong whether or not it has an accent. Reino, they're not separated because the I without an accent is weak. But here they are separated because the I got an accent. Reímos. They're together because the I doesn't have an accent. Misterio. Pronunciation here, this isn't miss. It's mis. Misterio. Río. No accent, therefore they're together. A-I. Caigo. With an accent, they are separated. Caímos. They are together, no accent. Okay, smile twice. Miseria. And here they are separated. I gets an accent. Sería. No accent, they're together. Paisano. With an accent, they get separated. País. Okay, so now let's talk about extended syllables. All these basic syllables that we have learned can be extended by adding one or at most two consonants at the end. So for example, we have the basic syllable ko. We can add a consonant or two at the end, coming up with kos, con, cor, and cons. We're going to find out how to do that in just a moment. Da, dan, das, dar, dam, and even a compound syllable. Tra, tram, tran, tras, trans. Okay, a single vowel syllable. I, in, ins. O, os, obs. So we can extend the basic syllable by adding consonants to it. So we're going to figure out how to do that in just a moment. We're going to see some words with extended syllables. Okay, we are still practicing the pronunciation emphasis rules, okay? Come. You have to figure out on your own. I give you a second or two before I click on the highlight, which shows us which syllable has pronunciation emphasis. Comen. Comes. So here we see the basic syllable me, okay? When we add an N to it, that doesn't make a separate syllable. It just gets appended to that basic syllable. Okay, here we added an N. We're conjugating. If you haven't had conjugation yet, you're going to learn this in the conjugation lesson in another module. So here, me became men or mes, one syllable. Okay, let's look at the next ones. The basic syllable lo, we add a J to it. Remember the sound of the J, strong H sound. So this is reloj. The basic syllable go gets an R. Gorgojo. Basic syllable CI, C gets an N. Cintura. Costo. Mente. Obtener. The basic syllable O got a consonant. Obtener. Does not have a graphic accent and it does not end in a vowel or N or S, so emphasis is on syllable number 1. Maldad. Both of those have an extension, right? The basic syllable is ma, and we just added an L. Basic syllable da, we added a D. Maldad. Consentir. All three are extended syllables. Co with an N, se with an N, T with an R. Consentir. Mentir. Smile. Intenso. I am hoping that by now you have broken the English habit of saying in. Okay, this is not in, this is in. Intenso. Lugar. Lugares. Okay. Now that we have seen all the possible syllables, we're going to talk about when we see a word, okay? If it's already broken up into syllables, sure, we can say, okay, this is where pronunciation emphasis goes. But when we are reading text, the words are not separated into syllables, so we have to learn to do that syllable separation ourselves before we apply the rules for figuring out which syllable has pronunciation emphasis. Okay, first rule. Okay, whenever possible, this means it is not always possible. Okay, Spanish syllables start with a consonant. So we want to avoid starting a syllable with a vowel. Okay, we're going to have to see this over and over again. Remember, we want this to become instinct in you. We want it to become second nature. You don't want, if at all possible, you don't want to start a syllable with a vowel. Okay, we have seen this word before. Okay, it is composed of 4 basic syllables, a consonant and a vowel. So here we go. Tell me, okay, or tell yourself where I should put the hyphens to separate the syllables. Okay, so we start with this letter. Obviously alone it cannot be a syllable because it doesn't have a vowel. So we have to go until we get a vowel. Okay, here's a vowel. So this could be a syllable right here. But we don't know because the following consonant may have to be appended to this and extending that syllable. But if we were to do that, if we were to put this R with the A, then we have a vowel. And we cannot have this vowel in the same syllable as this one because they are not adjacent. So we know that the syllable break has to be somewhere here. Okay? But if we put the break here, then that means that we are starting the next syllable with a vowel. We don't want to do that, so we give this consonant to the I and we put the break right there. Okay? So it's slow, I know, but it will become second nature and very fast if we practice it right. Okay? We start the process all over again, right? So this by itself cannot be a syllable because it doesn't have a vowel. But there's a vowel right there. Okay, this could be a syllable, but we don't know that yet. We have to look at the next letters because if the next letters are consonants, they could be added to this, right? So we keep going until we find another vowel. Here it is. We know that the I and the O cannot be in the same syllable because they are separated by a consonant. So the break has to be somewhere in here. If we give the P to the I, then that means that the O starts a syllable unnecessarily. So the break goes between the I and the P. Okay? Process starts again, and we come up with another one there. In the homework and practice exercise, you have so many lists of words, you get to do this over and over again. And believe me, okay, it will become so quick that you won't even know you're doing it, okay? It's going to be second nature. Let's look. So once we have the syllables, then we can apply the pronunciation emphasis rules, right? There is no graphic accent. It ends in a vowel. Therefore, pronunciation emphasis is in syllable number 2, okay, counting from the right to the left. Syllables number 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Pronunciation emphasis is there. We have to smile here. So this is going to sound mariposa. Mariposa. I want you saying it that slowly as I say it. Okay. Apply the same rules the way I just did with mariposa and figure out where the hyphens should be, where the syllables should be separated. Okay? So hopefully you are coming up between the E and the N. Another basic syllable, na. Another basic syllable, C. And this last D cannot be a syllable by itself because it doesn't have a vowel, so it gets appended to the basic syllable da, becoming an extended syllable. Now that we have the syllables broken up, separated, we figure out where to put pronunciation emphasis, apply the rules that you know, and hopefully you come up with dad, because it does not have a graphic accent and it does not end in a vowel or N or S. So what does this sound like? Okay, so again, we are saying the syllables one at a time, right? Tenacidad. Tenacidad. Are you starting to feel like you are speaking Spanish? It should, right? It should feel different. It sounds different. It feels different. Okay. Okay, we start the rules again, right? Let's look at this letter. It's a vowel. So this could be a syllable all by itself, but we won't know until we do a look ahead to see where we're going to put the break. The next one is a consonant. Okay, we don't know if we're going to append it to the I or if we're going to put it in the next syllable. Okay, the next letter is a vowel. Okay, we cannot have two vowels in the same syllable if they are not adjacent to each other, so the break is somewhere in here. If we put the break here, then we are unnecessarily starting a syllable with a vowel. So we are going to put the break here, ending up with a single letter vowel syllable. Okay? Let's do it again. Process starts again. The N cannot be a syllable by itself because it needs a vowel. Voila, here's a vowel. So this could be a syllable. Okay? All right, let's go and see what's ahead before we make a final decision. Consonant, consonant, vowel. Okay, so we know that the break is somewhere between the E and the O because they cannot be in the same syllable because they are not adjacent. So we could take the P and give it to the E, and we don't have to worry about starting the next syllable with a vowel because it's a consonant. And in fact, that is what we do, and we are going to learn that rule in just a moment. Okay, so now that we have our syllables separated, we apply our pronunciation emphasis rules. And hopefully you come up with this. Hopefully you are prepared to smile for that I and say inepto. Inepto. We've seen this word before, okay? What do we have here? We have P-R-I. Do you remember those compound syllables? It's a P-I with an L or an R in between. So we have this is a compound syllable, right? But we don't know. Maybe we are going to add a consonant to it. We won't know that until we get to the next vowel and decide how we're going to divvy up the consonants in between the vowels. Okay, we have a vowel right here. We can't start it with just with a vowel. Therefore, we're going to put the break between the I and the M. And tell me what this syllable sounds like. Pri. Okay, going on and applying the same rules. I want you to tell me where the breaks are. So hopefully you are applying the rules, even if it's slow, okay? Don't feel like you're in a rush. I know in the class here you kind of have to follow my timing, right? But when you're doing the homework and practice exercises, exercise the rules over and over again, just like I have been doing patiently, okay? This cannot be a syllable because it doesn't have a vowel. Here's our vowel. Now we have the potential for a syllable here, but we won't know unless we figure out what we're going to do with the consonants in between this vowel and whenever the next vowel comes, okay? And then decide, okay, I cannot start the next syllable with a vowel, therefore I'm going to put the break here. Do that over and over again, and before you know it, it will be automatic and it will be very fast. So there is that one, and there is that one. So now that we have our syllables separated, we apply our pronunciation emphasis rules. Hopefully you came up with that. And now we are ready to pronounce this word perfectly with a perfect Spanish accent. Naturally, now that we know how to pronounce the vowels and we know how to separate the syllables, we just look at it and say something beautiful like primavera, primavera. And here you can see how that sounds very different than if we hadn't put the effort forth to speak it like the natives do. We would have said something like primavera, right? We would have separated it here and said primavera, right? And that's not right. You can see the accent. Primavera, right? That's not right. So we say primavera, and it will become second nature very quickly, okay? Okay, so here we go. In the interest of time, let's put in the hyphens for syllable separation. Hopefully you came up with that. And that, and now, do we need to separate the I from the O? If you are thinking strong and weak vowels, you are thinking right. Your brain is doing the right thing. The O is strong, the I is weak. When we have two vowels next to each other, we do not separate them unless they are both strong, and they are not. So they belong in the same syllable right here. So we have a 3-syllable word, emphasis is in that middle syllable. We are prepared to pronounce each vowel individually and to smile for the eyes. So we are going to read this as milenio. Not mil, not millennial, okay? Millennial. You see where the accent just went away because we know how to separate the syllables in Spanish. Okay? Watch out. This is a very similar word to the English, and those are the ones that are going to get you, right? If you look at it, your brain says, I've been saying this all my life. All I have to do is add an O to it, and we say something atrocious like monumento. Okay, and that sounds terrible. First of all, monument, this O is open in English, okay, ma, but we know that there are no open O's in Spanish, so this has to be mo. Okay, all right, so here we go. We do our syllable separation, and hopefully you're starting to see quickly that the hyphen is going to go here between the O and the N. Okay, between the U and the M, and then we have this interesting case of the last 5 letters. Okay, this alone is not a syllable because it doesn't have a vowel. This is potentially a syllable. Okay, now we have 2 consonants between the vowels. How are we going to divvy them up? Okay, one this way and one that way. We will learn a rule for that in just a moment, so bear with me. Okay, now we are ready to apply the pronunciation emphasis rules. Hopefully you're getting really good and automatic about that. And so we are ready to say mo, nu, men, to. Monumento. Do you hear the difference between monumento and monumento? As you say the 2 words, you feel like you are speaking Spanish. You sound like you are. So, okay, let's keep having fun. When an S is followed by a consonant, that consonant always starts a new syllable. Okay, these are just tips that you can apply so that you can quickly do this. So, why is that? Okay, if an S is followed by a consonant, we will separate that, because if we were to separate it here, okay, we would end up with this combination, STA. And you know that Spanish speakers have a really hard time starting a word with an S that is followed by a consonant. You hear many people who are native Spanish speakers that are starting to speak English, and they say escool for school, right? Because that S at the beginning followed by a consonant is very, very challenging for them, okay? So for that reason, we do not do that, okay? We never start a syllable with an S followed by a consonant. All right, so let's break this up. Tell me where the hyphens should go. I will pretend that I heard you, okay? So here we go, N-A, so this could be a syllable. Now we got to look at the consonants in between this A and the next vowel. There they are. Okay, it's an S and another consonant right there. It has to be separated. This S has to go with the previous syllable. So, pronunciation emphasis applied. We come up with that and we say something beautifully sounding like canasta. Okay, again, S followed by a consonant. It has to get separated, okay? Pronunciation emphasis. It does not end in a vowel or N or S, so it's syllable number 1. And we say respirar. That slowly, no faster at this point. We are trying to get you to to build, to establish really good pronunciation habits. The speed will come. At this point, speed is not your friend. In fact, it is an enemy, right? If we try to go fast, then we fall back on our English pronunciation and English reading rules, and that will mess us up. So we want to say respirar. Another S followed by a consonant. We know the break goes there. Restos. S followed by consonant, break goes there. Then we have two more syllables, basic syllables, pronunciation emphasis where the graphic accent is, and we say despota. Despota. S followed by a consonant. Pronunciation emphasis. Escolar. S followed by a consonant. We break it. Two more basic syllables. Pronunciation emphasis. Mascota. Okay, another tip. When we have two C's together, the syllable break always falls between the two C's. Okay, so there we have two C's. We separate them, followed by two basic syllables, pronunciation emphasis rules, and we say acceso. Two C's. Okay, do we have any other syllable breaks? No, because the I and the O cannot be separated because they are adjacent and one is strong and one is weak. So they are one syllable. So this is a two-syllable word. Pronunciation emphasis where the graphic accent is. And we say acción. Acción. Okay, we just added two consonants at the beginning of the same word. Okay, we have two C's, so we break those up. What do we have here? Remember the compound syllables? It's the syllable F-A, basic syllable, with either an L or an R in between. There, we recognize it. It is important to learn to recognize these readily because we're going to need them for the following rules. Okay, so since we have to separate the two C's, then this first C gets appended to this syllable. So pronunciation emphasis rules applied. We have a graphic accent. So we say something like fracción. Two C's. Immediately we know they have to be separated. And the next two are two basic syllables. We prepare to smile. Okay, pronunciation emphasis. And what does this sound like? Try it. Hopefully you said oxiso, not oc, okay? No open O. This has to be closed. Oxiso. Two C's. Break them up. Pronunciation emphasis. And we say acceder. This is what we're doing. Two C's. Break them up. Do we break up the rest? No, we are already familiar with this ending. We just saw it here and here. It's just one syllable. Strong vowel, weak vowel do not get separated. We have a graphic accent, so pronunciation emphasis is easy, and we say lección. So the double C ends up sounding like an X because this C has a K sound, and this C followed by an I has an S sound. So we say lección. Okay. Remember this? These are the compound syllables, okay? These cannot be separated. So when you see them, and the other rules say that you should separate it here, no. Okay? The first question that we're going to ask ourselves is it one of these syllables? And if it is, we do not break it. Okay? So remember, the basic syllables with an L or an R in between, okay? The D doesn't get one, okay? And this includes all the consonants in the alphabet up to a G. B, C, D, F, G, plus P and T. These are the compound syllables. We're going to then add, let me see, the syllables that used to be letters. Okay, those don't get broken up either. We have two consonants here. When they are together, they do not get broken up. Okay, so these two groups together, we are going to call them exceptional syllables. Okay, because these are going to be the exceptions. These do not get separated, meaning we do not break between the two consonants. Okay, these consonants, these consonants, and these consonants. Okay, I know it seems like a lot of rules right now, but believe me, your brain is an amazing organ. Okay, it is going to practice these rules, and very quickly, I mean, within a couple of days, you should be able to speak Spanish without an accent. Obviously, if you dedicate the time to doing the exercises and doing the repetitions that are required for naturalization. But really, within 2 days, you should be able to speak Spanish pretty much perfectly, okay? So we are going to call these two sets, okay, the compound syllables and the ones that used to be one single letter, we're going to call them exceptional syllables in the following slides. Okay, so now, this is the rule, and it starts with that. Unless it is one of those exceptional syllables that we just saw in the previous slide. And don't worry, the previous slide is included in your homework and practice exercise so that you can remember. Or you can always take a screenshot or a picture of it with your phone so that you can review it when you're not doing homework and you're doing something else. That is always recommended. So, unless it is an exceptional syllable, if there are two consonants between vowels, the syllable break falls between the two consonants. Okay, we've seen a couple of words like this before. Let's practice. Okay, so here we go. We're methodical, right? Because the more we practice, the sooner this will become automatically. The C alone cannot be a syllable. It doesn't have a vowel. But here's a vowel. This is a basic syllable, right? But we don't know if we are going to have to give it some of the consonants ahead of it. Okay, some after it. Okay, so, consonant. And then another consonant. We have to figure out how many consonants there are until we get to the next vowel. Okay, how many consonants do we have? We have 2. Is it part of an exceptional syllable? No. Okay, this is not an L or an R, so it's not CH, double L or double R. So it is not part of an exceptional syllable, so the break is going to fall whenever we have two consonants between vowels. The break falls right in between the two consonants. So there we are. We start the process all over again. This is why it becomes fast and automatic very quickly, because you do it over and over again. The F by itself cannot be a syllable. We need a vowel. There it is. It could be this. But we won't know what to do with the consonants ahead of it until we get to the next vowel. Here we are. Okay? We have two consonants between the two vowels. This rule, remember we said after S followed by another consonant always gets broken? That is consistent with this rule. The break goes right here. Okay? And then the last one is just an extended syllable. Basic plus an R. We're ready to apply pronunciation emphasis rules, and we come up with car. We're prepared to smile. we're prepared to do a closed O. This is not con, this is con. Okay, in English that would be con, right? Con. So we say confiscar. We are speaking Spanish perfectly. Okay, here we go. Same thing. P is not a vowel. We need a vowel. There it is. Now we need to figure out the consonants. We look for the next vowel, which is over here. We have two consonants. Are they part of an exceptional syllable? No, not CH, not double L, not double R. And this is not L or R. So the break goes right here. Let's put it there. And we have a two-syllable word. Pronunciation emphasis rules. There's a graphic accent. And we are prepared to say not per the way we would do in English. This is a long, strong, clear E. So we say perdón. Perdón. Okay? If we shortened this E, that would be accent. It would be perdón. We don't want to say that. Okay, it's easy enough to stretch this and sound perfectly. Perdón. Okay. Watch out. Okay, let's do it. Let's process it. We start with a vowel. Okay? When it's at the beginning of the word, we have no choice. We start that syllable with a vowel. Okay, so now we move on and we count the consonants between this vowel and the next vowel. We have two. Okay, watch out. We always have to ask ourselves, are these two part of an exceptional syllable? Yes, they are. So we cannot put the break here. That's where this, unless it is an exceptional syllable, comes in. So, because we cannot separate these two, the break is going to be right here. Okay, so let's put it there. Pronunciation emphasis rules puts the emphasis right there. And we say, closed O, obra. Obra. Okay, right away we are seeing an S followed by a consonant. We know before doing all our more complex process that those are going to have to be separated. So we do that. Pronunciation emphasis says we should say cesto. Again, we start the word with a vowel, therefore we have no choice but to start the syllable with a vowel. Okay? So we need to count the consonants between the vowels and then divvy them up. Okay, so two, we know that we're going to have to separate them unless this is a exceptional syllable, and it is not. This is an R, or this is not an R or an L. So the break goes right here between the B and the T. Okay, we continue. And we are ready to say this, okay? Closed O. Obtener. Okay, let's go. Consonant, we need a vowel. There's a vowel. Okay, basic syllable. We need to find the next letter. It's not a consonant, it's a vowel. So they could be together. So now if we have two vowels adjacent to each other, what is the question? Are they both strong? And the answer is yes, therefore they cannot be together. Okay, so the break has to be here because both the E and the A are strong. So let's put that break there. Now, we continue. Okay, this is going to have to start with an A because we have no choice. Okay, so we have a vowel. This could be a syllable by itself, but we don't know that yet. We have to look at we have to do the look ahead. So we have consonants. So we count the consonants until we get to the next vowel. So there's the next vowel. Okay, we have two consonants. So normally we would separate them between the two Unless what? Unless it is an exceptional syllable. And guess what? Tro is a compound syllable. There's our R with the T. So we cannot put the break here. So we have to put the break here. We end up with a single vowel, one letter syllable in the middle of the word, which is going to help us pronounce this word like natives do. We apply the pronunciation emphasis rules and we say something beautiful like teatro, teatro. Okay, the next rule, again, unless it is an exceptional syllable. When we have 3 consonants between vowels, the syllable break falls between the second and the third. Okay, so meaning we give 2 to the previous syllable and the third one is used to start the next one. Let's practice. All right, so we have a consonant, not a syllable. Another consonant, not yet a syllable because we need a vowel. Voila, a vowel. This could be a syllable right here, okay? But we won't know until we process the next letters until we get to another vowel, okay? So consonant, 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 vowel. So now we count. 1, 2, 3. Okay, what does the rule say? Unless it is an exceptional syllable. We do not have an exceptional syllable there. Okay. The break goes between the second and the third right here. First, second, third. Now we're counting left to right. Okay. Between the second and the third consonants right here. It is also consistent with the quick rule. Remember the tips? Whenever an S is followed by a consonant, the break goes there. The rules are consistent. So we have our first syllable. Look how long it is. 5 letters. Okay, let's put our hyphen there. Okay, then we start the process again. Consonant, vowel. Okay, this could be a syllable, but we won't know until we get to the next vowel, which is over here. 2 letters, 2 consonants, therefore we have to divvy them up right here unless it is an exceptional syllable, and this is not an exceptional syllable. So we put our next break right here between the R and the M. If it feels a little rushed here in the lesson and it's not giving you time to follow up, to keep up, it will be slower in the homework and practice exercise. Okay? All right, we are ready. We have separated our word into syllables. We are ready to apply our pronunciation emphasis rules, and we come up with pronunciation emphasis there. So we read this as transformo, transformo. Okay. We start with a vowel. We could already have a syllable. We won't know until we find the next vowel, which is way over here. 1, 2, 3 consonants in between. Normally, the rule says the syllable breaks falls between the second and the third unless it is an exceptional syllable. And look at this. Fra. Exceptional syllable, we cannot separate it here, therefore we're going to have to separate it here. Okay, so there is our first hyphen. Okay, a quickie here. Remember what we said about CC? They always have to be separated, and again, that quick rule is consistent with the rule that we learned in the previous slide. When we have 2 consonants between vowels, unless it is an exceptional syllable, we separate between the 2 consonants. So they are all consistent. We put that there, and we have seen this end syllable before, right? It's 1 syllable. We apply pronunciation emphasis rules. We have a graphic accent. We know not to say in, right? We smile. And if I'm getting on your nerves, if that helps you to remember, well, then so be it. I just hope you don't hate me too much. And you say something beautiful like infracción. Infracción. Fantástico. Okay, let's do it again. Look at this beautiful exceptional syllable. Tra. Okay, but we don't know if we have to give it more consonants. So we jump to the next vowel. Over here we have 3 consonants. It is not an exceptional syllable. Therefore, we break between the second and the third, and that is consistent with the quick rule that we learned. Whenever S is followed by a consonant, the break goes there. So between the S and the P, we have a syllable break. We keep going. This is not an exceptional syllable. There's 2 consonants from the previous slide. We know that the break goes here. We put it there. Pronunciation emphasis. And we say transporte. Transporte. I'm starting to lose my voice. Okay. Here's another trans. Okay. So exceptional syllable. 1, 2, 3 consonants between the vowels. It is not an exceptional syllable. Therefore, between the second and the third consonants right here, okay, consistent with our quick S rule, okay, we continue going like this. Hopefully by now you can pretty quickly see that it goes between the E and the R. Excuse me, pronunciation emphasis. And we say transferir. Okay. An I is a vowel. We look for the next vowel. There are 3 consonants. This is an S followed by a consonant. We know that the break goes here, and it is also the second and third consonant, and it is not a compound syllable, an exceptional syllable, so it goes there. Double C. Quickly, we know it goes there. And this is our end syllable that we have become familiar with. So, please do me proud. Start smiling right now and say inspección. Inspección. Ooh, things are coming together. Okay, so there's our vowel. Okay, we jump over the consonants to the next vowel. There are 3 of them. This rule that we're studying says that the break would go here unless this is an exceptional syllable, which it is. Therefore, we cannot put the break here. We put the break here. So let's put that hyphen there. And so now we know this is an exceptional syllable. Okay, there's our vowel. We look until we get to the next vowel. Voila, it's there. It is adjacent. Okay, so normally it would just get appended except when they are both strong. And here is an I, which is normally weak, but it has an accent. So it is strong, and the E is strong, so they have to be separated. Okay, so now let's go to the next one. We have a vowel here. Okay, we look forward to the next vowel and we count 2 consonants in between. Normally, you remember we would divide here from the previous slide when we have 2 consonants, unless it is an exceptional syllable. And ble is an exceptional syllable. We cannot break there, so we have to break here. Okay, so we end up with the accented I being all by itself, and it gets pronunciation emphasis. And you're gonna make me proud again and say something like increíble. Increíble. Excellent. And we have one last rule, okay? If there are not that many words, but there are enough of them, okay, that we have to have the rule. If there are 4 consonants between vowels, no questions asked, okay? There is no if it is this type of syllable or that. If there are 4 consonants between the vowels, the syllable break always falls between the second and the third. We divvy them up equally, okay? Evenly. Not many words, but enough, okay? So here we are. There is a vowel, consonant, 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 vowel. So 1, 2, 3, 4, we have to divide between the second and the third. It is consistent with all the rules that we have learned before. Between an S and a T, between an S and any consonant, right? The break goes there. This is a compound syllable. It's an exceptional syllable. So everything is consistently saying we have to separate right here. Let's put our hyphen there, okay? And now we continue. This is an exceptional syllable. We know that, okay? Consonant, consonant, vowel, 2 vowels. This is not an exceptional syllable. So, 2 consonants, okay? This is not an exceptional syllable, so we divide right here. Pronunciation emphasis, and we say abstracto, abstracto. Okay? Again, easy, basic syllable. Let's find out how many consonants between the E and the U. 4 of them, no questions asked, right in the middle between the S and the T. Okay, so now let's look at the next one. This is an exceptional syllable followed by a vowel. Are we going to separate these two? We cannot. They are adjacent vowels. One is strong and one is weak. We cannot separate them, so this ends up being a long word with just 2 syllables in it. Applying pronunciation emphasis, we say menstruar, menstruar. Okay, hopefully this is getting easier, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, break goes right here. Let's put it there. Do we separate these 2? They are both weak, no problem. They're not going to fight. They're not going to beat each other up. So they stay together. Another long word with 2 syllables. Pronunciation emphasis is there. And so, being that we are good now at pronouncing all our vowels individually, we say construir, construir. You're noticing a pattern? Okay, it's looking like all the syllables after are going to be exceptional syllables and an S there. Okay, so we can see quickly 1, 2, 3, 4, break goes here between the S and the T, consistent with all the rules. And again, the U and the I are weak, so they don't get separated. Pronunciation emphasis, and we say closed O, obstruir, obstruir. We're almost done. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes right there. 4 consonants. We put it there. Okay, weak vowel, strong vowel. They don't get separated. Pronunciation emphasis, closed O, monstruo, monstruo, not mons. Mons is open. A, O, monstruo. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 consonants. The break goes right here. Okay, we've seen this syllable before, here and here, so we don't separate that. You're ready to do me proud, right? Okay, pronunciation emphasis there, and you are in a good mood. You are smiling because I am so super proud of you, and you say something beautifully sounding like instruir, instruir. Note that the second syllable is always an exceptional syllable, okay? There's the following. Tra, tru, 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 tru. Okay, summary and review. Pronounce these for me, please. A, E, O are strong. Pronounce these. I, U are weak. How do we remember? If you say these together, it sounds like you. If you can remember the sentence, you are weak, as in you're telling somebody that they are weak. You are weak. You will always know you are weak. Okay? And with an accent, I and you become strong. Okay? Every syllable must have at least one vowel. When two vowels are adjacent, they are only separated if they are both strong. It's the only time you separate them. Okay? And whenever possible, we do not start a syllable with a vowel. Remember, if you want to take a screenshot right now or a picture with your phone so that you can review these rules, this is the summary, right? This is where everything that we covered in the lesson comes together. So you put a picture in your phone so that you can make me really happy and review this between this lesson and the next one, okay? And now we are going to see how to divvy up the number of consonants between vowels, okay? Okay? If there is one consonant, you break between the vowel and the consonant, right? Because you want to give it to the following vowel so that you don't start a syllable with a vowel. As in mesa, vowel, consonant, vowel. So you are going to give the consonant to the following vowel so you don't have to start a syllable with a vowel. Okay? So that's if you only have one. If you have two consonants between vowels, you have to ask yourself, is this an exception? If the two consonants are part of an exceptional syllable, remember the ones with an R or an L in between, or CH, double L, or double R? If they are part of an exceptional syllable, then you break between the first vowel and the first consonant because you don't want to break up that exceptional syllable. Okay, so like right here. Okay, so we have two consonants between vowels. Okay, so normally we would break here, but this is an exceptional syllable, so they will both go with the O. There we go. Otherwise, you break between the two consonants, okay? So vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel, and this is not an exceptional syllable, so therefore you are going to break there, okay? If we have three consonants between vowels, okay? If the last two consonants are part of an exceptional syllable, we cannot break them up, right? So we break between the first and the second. Okay, there we go. Vowel, consonant, 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 vowel. Three consonants between vowels. Normally we would break between the second and the third, but this is an exceptional syllable. We cannot break it, so we're going to have to break between the first and the second. Okay, there it is. Otherwise, we break between the second and the third consonant. Okay, so here we go, three consonants between two vowels. It is not an exceptional syllable, so we break between the second and the third consonant. Inspección. In the last case is easy because no questions asked. Whenever we have four consonants between two vowels, we always break between the second and the third consonant. Here we have it, okay? Vowel, consonant, 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 vowel. Four consonants, No questions asked between the second and the third. There we go. If you want to take a picture, you may. Okay, the next section, to roll or not to roll. Okay, as you saw, we mentioned in one of the initial lessons that the Spanish R has two different sounds. Most people are intimidated by the roll, but the flutter is equally challenging. Okay, so it is as important as making the sounds, being able to make the sounds, is knowing which one to make where and smoothing the transitions. This requires practice, okay? This is like speech therapy. Okay, so big part of foreign accent hides in here. Practice makes perfect. Okay, be prepared to do the exercises. It will take time, but you will be rewarded with a beautiful accent. If you have not mastered these sounds, make sure you take the articulation of our lesson. Okay, you start the exercises right away because it will take several weeks. You do the tareas. And you practice very frequently until it all naturalizes. It's going to take discipline. Okay. This is a quick review of the R sounds, whether it is single or double R. It represents a rolled sound, unless, and this is very simple, if it is a single R between two vowels. That is the only time that it will not be a rolled R in Spanish, okay? It will be a flutter R if it is a single R between two vowels. Okay? It is a flutter sound. Okay, you are ready to read Spanish. Okay? So, when you encounter a Spanish word, you are going to be able to read it now, even if you don't know what it means and you have never seen it or heard it before. Okay, so the first step is you break it into syllables, processing one letter at a time from left to right, the way we've been doing in this lesson. Okay, you number the syllables from right to left this time. Okay, you identify the syllable with pronunciation emphasis. You pronounce the word one syllable at a time, flowing from one syllable to the next. You pronounce it 2 more times. Okay, let's do this. Break it into syllables. Okay. Break 2 strong vowels. Vowel, vowel, right there, because they are both strong. Okay, we continue. We don't know if the E by itself is a syllable. That's a consonant, that's a consonant, that's a vowel, and 2 consonants between vowels. Break is right there. Number the syllables. Syllables 1, 2, and 3. Identify syllable with pronunciation emphasis. Apply the rules from the initial lessons and then pronounce the word 1 syllable at a time. Caerse. Caerse. Flowing. Caerse. Caerse. 2 more times. Caerse. Caerse. If you keep doing this, a natural Spanish accent cannot help but fall into place. And you are more than welcome. Nothing's stopping you from viewing these lessons again. Most of the lessons are viewed 2 or 3 times. Okay, so expected. It's natural, it's to be expected, and that's how you're going to get the most benefit out of this. And yes, it is work, and yes, it does take effort and practice, but you are rewarded with excellent pronunciation. Okay, so here's a parachute. We're going to do the same thing. We break it into syllables. Here we go. Consonant, vowel. We don't know until we get to the next vowel. Okay, there's the vowel. One consonant between the two vowels, we put the break there. Okay, we continue. Consonant. We don't know until we get to the next vowel. There's the next vowel, so we put the break there. Okay, the next vowel is a strong vowel. We know that it cannot be next to the A, so it gets separated. Okay, so then we have consonant and vowel. What are we going to do with that consonant? We are going to give it to the A, therefore we put the break there. Okay, we have separated the letter into syllables. We number the syllables. Okay, we identify the syllable with pronunciation emphasis. And we pronounce the word first one syllable at a time. Pa, ra, ka, I, das. Then we flow from one syllable to the next by stretching the vowels. Paracaídas. Then we pronounce it 2 more times. Paracaídas, paracaídas. This is so that our speech muscles get used to those transitions between new sounds that we are learning, okay? It's like perfecting that cartwheel when you were 5 years old, right? The first one was not graceful, but after you did 100 of them, it started to look a little bit better. Let's do another word. I almost pronounced it. First step, break it into syllables. Okay, consonant, vowel, potential syllable. One consonant, one vowel. Okay, so we put in the separation. We know how to do that. We continue until we find the next vowel. Only one consonant, we know where to separate that. Okay, next vowel. Is it weak? Yes, it is. So we cannot separate it from the strong vowel. Okay, there is a consonant and another vowel. So one consonant between two vowels, we know how to separate that. Consonant, consonant, vowel. That tells us where to separate right here between the S and the M. So we have separated, broken the word into syllables. We number the syllables right to left. Okay, now we identify the syllable with pronunciation emphasis. You remember, practice the rules right now. Okay, before I click it, figure it out. There it is. And then we pronounce the word. Okay, first one syllable at a time. Pa, ra, kai, dis, mo. Then flowing from one syllable to the next. Paracaidismo. Then 2 more times. Paracaidismo, paracaidismo. And you can do it 3 or 4 or 5, right? The more you do it, the better for you. Okay, long word. Break it up into syllables. Here we go. You should be doing this now, okay? There's our first vowel. Now we are going to count the consonants until the next vowel. We are going to apply the rule that we know. 3 consonants. And we know where to put the break because it's not an exceptional syllable. We go on. Consonant, vowel, okay? We know how to break that up. Consonant, vowel, another basic syllable, consonant, vowel, another basic syllable. Okay, we are done with breaking the word up into syllables. Now we number the syllables. Excelente. We find the syllable with pronunciation emphasis. This should be straightforward. Identify it before I click the highlight. There it is. And now we go to pronouncing the word. Okay, first one syllable at a time. Transpacifico. Now we do it flowing. Transpacifico. And two more times. Transpacifico. Transpacifico. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. Okay, break it up. That could be a syllable. 1, 2 consonants. There is a vowel. Not an exceptional syllable, therefore the break goes right there. Okay, we gotta find our next vowel. One consonant in between. That tells us that we give that to the next vowel. Another one consonant in between. We put that there. Now two consonants in between. The first one being an S. We know very quickly where to put that break. And no more vowels. Okay, we have broken it into syllables. Now we number them. Now we identify the syllable with pronunciation emphasis. Try to do it before I click the highlighter. And now we go to pronouncing it one syllable at a time. Antagonistas. Now flowing. Antagonistas. Two more times. Open your mouth big, okay? Antagonistas. Antagonistas. You should feel it now. You are speaking Spanish. Correctly. Beautifully. Let's do it again. Potential syllable. Consonant, consonant. Next vowel, okay, two consonants. We would normally break here, but this is what? An exceptional syllable. We cannot break it here, so we have to leave that A by itself, okay? In search of our next vowel, one consonant in between. We know what to do with that, okay? In search of our next vowel, one consonant in between. We know what to do with that. And so we are done breaking it up in syllables. We number the syllables. We apply our pronunciation emphasis. Okay, identify it before I click. Here we go. That, because it does not end in a vowel or N or S. You should know that very clearly by now. If you don't, then let's rewatch some of the lessons, okay? So now we pronounce the word one syllable at a time. Atrocidad. Flowing. Atrocidad. Two more times. Atrocidad. Atrocidad. Okay, breaking it up. Vowel. Another vowel. Can they be together? They'll beat each other up. They are both strong. So there goes the break. In search of our next vowel. There is only one consonant in between. We don't want to give it to the E because we would unnecessarily start the next syllable with a vowel. So we know where that break goes. Okay, in search of our next vowel. Okay, there it is. Only one consonant in between. We know what to do with that. Okay, same thing. Okay, we're in a vowel, then another vowel. Okay, they are both strong. They cannot peacefully coexist in the same syllable. Okay, we have finished. Okay, now we number the syllables. Okay, unnecessary because in this case it is pretty straightforward. Which one has pronunciation emphasis? We have a graphic accent. Pronounce the word one syllable at a time. A, e, ro, li, ne, as. Flowing. Aerolíneas. 2 more times. Aerolíneas. Aerolíneas. Okay, we are going to practice. Two C's. You are now very good at this, so I'm not helping you very much. Okay, so pronunciation emphasis. So we forgot to say it. Accidente. Okay, again, the breaks here. S and C. Okay, pick the next one. U and E. U is weak, E is strong. They don't get separated. Pronunciation emphasis. Escuela. This is what you're going to be doing in the homework and practice exercise over and over until it all becomes automatic and you don't have to think about the rules anymore. Okay, tell me where the breaks go. Okay, hopefully you got those. Pronunciation. Apestoso. Okay, find the breaks. Pronunciation emphasis. Baptismo. Bosque. Chisme. Okay, remember what the A-U sounds like pronounced? You don't have to remember, you can just sound it out. Ow, 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 like how. Okay, let's break it up. The O and the E are strong. S followed by consonant in 2 basic syllables. Pronunciation emphasis. Autoestima. Autoestima. Okay. Identify the breaks before I click. E and A are strong. Pronunciation emphasis. Cereales. Cereales. Do the I and the A get separated? No. I is weak, A is strong. Pronunciation emphasis. Okay, and here we don't say cuss because the U sounds like what in Spanish? U. Custodia. Okay, breaks. Here we go. What about the E and the O? They are both strong. They have to be separated, otherwise they'll beat each other up. Pronunciation emphasis, straightforward. We have a graphic accent. What does the H sound like in Spanish? Silent. The O is always closed. So we have homogéneo. 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 Okay, breaks. 2 C's. Atracción. If I'm going too fast, feel free to stop the video and figure it out and then restart it again. Just pause it and restart. Aspecto. Okay, some strong vowels here. Okay, we have 3 consonants, this being an exceptional syllable, right? So the break goes there. E and O are adjacent vowels. They are both strong, so they must be separated. Pronunciation emphasis. And we say empleo. Breaks. E and A are both strong. Coquetear. Coquetear. Breaks. The I and the A, do they need to be separated? Answer is no. The I is weak, the A is strong, they remain together. We cannot separate them. Pronunciation emphasis. Syllable number 2, seria. Okay, where are you going to put the breaks? Try to beat me. The E and the O are both strong. Okay, so what are you going to do with the N? Are you going to give it to the A or give it to the O? If you give it to the O, then you're starting unnecessarily here with the vowel, so you don't want to do that. Okay, pronunciation emphasis. Syllable number 2. Campeona. Campeona. Okay, let's do the breaks. 3 consonants between vowels. Easy to see. S followed by a consonant. We already know that. It goes there. Then 2 consonants in between 2 vowels. Not an exceptional syllable. Break goes there. Pronunciation emphasis goes there because it ends in a vowel or N or S. And we say abstengo. Abstengo. Interesting. Look at this word and look at this word. What is the only difference? A graphic accent over the I. Okay, let's put in the breaks. Now the I and the A are both strong, so they have to be separated. Pronunciation emphasis is there, and this sounds seria compared to seria. Seria, seria. If that's not clear to you, go back and forth and say them both so that you can see what happened, okay? Analyze them as much as you need. Breaks. Yep. Emphasis. Aceptaste. Okay, do the breaks ahead of me. Okay, hopefully you caught that the I and the A had to be separated. Whereas pronunciation emphasis right there. And we say not male, mayoría. Mayoría. Okay, so we are fine-tuning your accent. How are we going to do that? Hopefully you have already acquired the recommended books. If you don't know what they are, you can go to the website www.finalmilespanish.com. At the bottom left, there is a link that is called Students Corner, and there you can see the recommended books for the program. Okay. You are going to read those books, 1 paragraph at a time. We are not concerned with comprehension at this point. We are concerned with accent fine-tuning. We are concerned with practicing the rules that you have learned in these lessons so that they become automatic. So you will do 1 paragraph at a time, syllable by syllable. You can take a pencil if you want and put slashes in between the syllables. The point is not to read the book and understand the story, right? It just gives you an opportunity to take text the way you're going to encounter naturally, be able to break it up into syllables. Okay, initially you will need to put the slashes with the pencil so that you can read them, and then eventually after some practice you won't need to do that anymore. So syllable by syllable. out loud. The way we have been processing the words here in the lesson, that's what you're going to need to do, right? So first syllable by syllable, then you blend the word, okay? Don't forget the correct placement of pronunciation emphasis, and review the rules in your mind, okay? Do not be tempted to rush and just guess and then get it wrong, right? You want to review the rules in your mind so that it becomes completely automatic. Look at this. Slow, deliberate, accurate, and controlled. Speed is not your friend. Counterproductive. Okay, so avoid speed. This is just pick a paragraph, any paragraph, and do what we have been doing. And that is what's going to take you to a perfect Spanish accent. So you'll read the paragraph, you will repeat the paragraph, you will repeat again, flowing from one word to the next. And it is not a comprehension exercise. Our focus is pronunciation. Our purpose is accent fine-tuning. And our goal is fluency. Okay? At this point, we are just laser focused on pronunciation and accent fine-tuning. If you follow these steps, a natural Spanish accent falls into place, okay? Patience at this point. I know it's a lot of fun when you're learning a new language and you just can't wait to have a conversation, right? But at this point, we want to exercise restraint. Whatever time and effort you invest here is going to pay great dividends later on, because you're going to talk to people and they're going to say, wow, you speak perfect Spanish, and that is going to be sweet to hear. Okay, other sources that you can use if you have trouble breaking things up into syllables, you can take screenshot of this, okay, syllabus.net. That is very easy to use. Okay, you select your language, you enter your word, you click here to separate, and there is the correct syllabification. If you need additional information, you can read this, but it's in Spanish, so you may not be quite ready for that. Okay, so you can go to Google if you want help with the pronunciation. Okay, you can just enter your word and say definición. That will take you to this page, and you will be able to just click here and hear the pronunciation. Okay, so you enter the Google Spanish word followed by definición, and you click there for correct pronunciation to verify that you got it right, because I'm sure you will. Okay, there is the Spanish definition and the translation down here. And it's time to do your tarea. Okay, it is in volume 1 in the section titled Syllables, or How to Speak Spanish Without an Accent. It is fundamentals. There is your homework ID, and you are now able to do pages 8 to 20 of 20. You had done the previous pages before, you may recall. If you don't have it, here's the QR code. Don't forget to use the discount. FMU2 is the discount code. You will get 10% off. And this is what the rest of the pages look like. This is just a few. I can't show you all 20 pages, but there you are reminded, okay, of strong and weak vowels. You can see the lists of words that you're going to practice with. It also tells you the books, how you're going to use the books to do your continued practice. The naturalization part is very, very important. Please don't neglect that. Okay, and then there is opportunity for you to make sentences if you feel up to it. Those were examples, and here you can enter your own sentences. Okay, again, be reminded of the discount code FMU2, FM for final mile. Okay, and there is an additional tarea that focuses on ñ words if you are having a bit of trouble or need additional practice with that additional consonant in the Spanish alphabet, ñ. Okay, this is that particular tarea. Also volume 1, also in the syllable section, and it is called ñ words. This is the homework ID, and it is 10 pages long. Let's see. Okay, there you see it, and there is a ton of words for you to practice with, and then the integration focus with examples so that you can make some sentences. There is the discount code again, and congratulations, okay? You need to practice to be sure, but at this point, if you apply the rules that you have learned, you should be able to perfectly pronounce any Spanish word by applying the rules that you have learned. Okay, and as you follow the rest of the program, hopefully you will, you've seen that it is a full-fledged program, the subsequent more advanced classes will reinforce what you have learned here, and so a natural Spanish accent will just continue to perfect itself. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. At this point, it may seem like there are a lot of rules to remember, but keep in mind, you won't have to remember them forever. They are just the first step. You will feel them starting to naturalize when you do the homework and practice exercises. The trick is to practice regularly and consistently until it all becomes second nature. Trust the process. If you follow the steps, a Spanish accent will naturally fall into place. Have fun with the tarea.